Welcome, welcome to the Punditviews for the night. I know we had to take the time off last week. I needed to set up about 5 or 6 different type of different kind of subjects for the next few weeks, and there are going to be some big ones and some nice ones. Hopefully, the biggest one, the biggest fish of them all. But I'll let you know that when the time comes. Anyway, right now, the guest. It's somebody I've been wanting to for a little bit. We couldn't get our times meshed, but we've got this straight here right now. He is from Detroit, Michigan. We call him Detroit Dom. I'm usually making fun of his drinks and his drinking and some of his clothes that he usually wears. Anyway, welcome, Dom DeRubeis, Detroit Dom.
Wow, what an intro. The only thing I actually take exception to what you said was trying to do this for... Wait, ooh, am I muted? Can't hear me? Now I can't hear you. My mic's on. I'm good. Can't hear me? You can? You can't?
Yeah, we can hear you. Apparently his sound went out. He's coming back on. Can you hear me?
You can hear me now? Hello? Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we got him fixed up.
Yeah. Wait till he comes back on.
No, but well, Denzel, while we're waiting for him to come back on, what do you think of getting him in Oka?
I think it would be a great touch. I think it will. But remains to be seen.
I'm absolutely shocked because Nick Nurse is available, but good for Ime because he's a great coach.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Hang on, let's see if he's working now.
Dom, can you work it?
Good?
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Anyway, I was just saying how we spend our time. I've known you for a little bit. We didn't get our times meshed, but usually spend the time. Usually spend the time.
This was the first time you asked me, and I said yes.
Yeah. But it's like I usually make fun of your clothing, but you're pretty dressed up for yourself tonight.
Why? Because the hoodie.
Because normally it's a muscle shirt.
No, because in order to wear a muscle shirt, you would have to have muscles, which I do not. But yeah, no.
Hey, at least you're honest
today.
Hey, at least you're honest. So anyway, I wanted to say, you are? We call you Detroit Dom, but are you from Detroit?
I am from Metro Detroit. I am within the city limits right now. I spend a lot of my time in Detroit, either at sporting events, concerts. From Metro Detroit, where I live is geographically, it's literally about 5 miles from the city limits. Like I live in a town called Livonia.
Mm-hmm.
The buffer zone directly to my east is called Redford, which used to be called Old Detroit. And then on the other side of Redford is Detroit. So I can get in my car from my house and be in the city limits in about 7 minutes, and I can be downtown in less than 20. So, but it's pretty great because where I live, it's safe, low crime. Property taxes are high, but whatever.
Well, that's probably why it's low crime. Yeah, I think it's kind of a mix on that. But overall, it's like you've been through there all your life. So have you ever left Detroit?
Yes. Ypsilanti, where Eastern Michigan is, that's still Metro Detroit. I mean, it's probably 30 miles away. That's actually where I was born.
Okay.
Another town a little south of me called Canton is where my parents lived when I was born. We actually lived across the street from 84 Tigers reliever Milt Wilcox.
Mm-hmm.
Too young to remember that. We then moved to Wichita, Kansas for about 2.5, 3 years. I was like 3, 4, and 5 at the time. If we would have stayed, I would have went to the same high school as Barry Sanders. I guess that would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have gotten. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, you would have just missed him by a little bit. Yeah,
he's a few years older than me. But so we moved back to Metro Detroit, to Livonia, where I live now in 86. Yeah. All right. Whatever.
So you made it. You got to see the whole of the Bad Boys.
Yeah, I was actually I can never remember because it was so long ago. It was the second year. So 89-90, the finals that we beat Portland. I saw probably 10 to 12 of those regular season games and 2 or 3 playoff games.
Oh,
back
that's beautiful.
Whereas now, the whole arena is called Little Caesars. Back then at the Palace, Pizza Hut, who my dad worked for, had the contract with the Pistons. And let me tell you about something they called a Go Pizza. Everybody knows about Stouffer's French bread pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine that, but on fresh French bread and so much cheese and toppings that it sunk the bread down, and it was about that tall, and it was just the crust and then about 2 to 3 inches of cheese and a lot of pepperoni.
Let me tell you this. When I hear food like that, you just put it into your head. Mind you, getting to our ages that we're at, we do want to think sometimes about trying to eat a little healthier. We think of it our way. But just to not have a chance to try something like that just says...
Never again.
Yeah. And it's like, no, the biggest thing is, you think about this is like there are people that live the world, they're shredded and they're in great shape and everything, and they eat basically chicken and rice all the time. And they don't get this enjoyment out of food like that. And it's like, mind you, I don't want to eat like that all the time, and I'm not a drinker. But
right.
I just get this idea that it's like, I want to try something once, no matter what culture, what everything. It's like, you get one life.
Yeah.
You get one life. It's like, and you do want to be in good shape, but it does not hurt to at least try it and just see,
Right. And I'm just vain enough to make sure that I never get out of shape. So if my metabolism ever does slow down, I'll at least think about eating a little bit healthier, because I hate working out. I don't mind running, but like my knees aren't quite what they were. And I don't play sports quite as much as I used to. Like softball's about to start back up, and I go and hoop here and there.
Yeah.
But golf is an exercise, nor is it a sport. But
did you play any high school sports?
I did play soccer for 2 years, JV, and I barely got into games on the JV team, because soccer in Livonia at my high school specifically was a very big thing. As far as I know, still is a very big thing. And I played JV with a lot of my buddies growing up, and most of them were sitting right next to me on the bench. And the coach was an absolute a-hole. Like,
right.
He hated this guy. He hated me. And he kind of made me hate soccer, and I didn't want to play anymore, especially when I found out they were going to make him the varsity coach. And I was like,
no, thank you.
For one, I really wasn't good enough to crack the starting lineup or even get a lot of meaningful minutes. And even if I was, like, this guy was just going to hold me down. So I quit. And my junior and senior year, we won the state title. But it was with, half or more of the starting lineup of those state title winners were freshmen and sophomores. And all my buddies that made varsity, they were still sitting on the bench, just like I would have been had I played varsity. So,
well, whatever. Do you think really overall, and I was going to ask this to you, because one of the things it's going to be on one of my pundits. But hey, Tyler, how's it going, buddy? That little Everly better be with you. No. Now, I'm going to ask this. Do you think that overall that it was the attitude that the coaches would be able to have that got any of these kids motivated back in the day? Because now you get a lot of soft. Mind you, I'm not saying that it was fine. I'm not saying that Bob Knight, what he did was right or wrong. That kind of deal.
I love Bob Knight.
I know, and I'm a Bob Knight fan. I'm a Bob Knight fan. But here's what my thing is: do you think overall that it's a softer generation to not be able to handle the situation, getting a little bit of critique or even yelled at?
Oh, absolutely. Like, coaches now, they have to walk such a fine line, and it's kind of sad because I guess if you're a coach now at, really at any level, and it starts before high school or college, and definitely not pros, but you kind of just have to hope that, the players on your roster are not only highly talented, but also highly motivated. Or, at best, you hope that you can motivate them to give maximum effort without having to resort to Bob Knight tactics, because you can't.
Well, yeah. And my big thing, the reason I asked that is because you watch them now. It's like I just heard today that and I'm saying this about this, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders just lost 14 of his players today, and this was the ones after the spring game, which remember, that was the ones that went in the first place. There were like 20 of them before that, 24 before that. Those are the ones that are on video saying I've got to bring my own guys in, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
he left.
But he wants to find, because he not only is he trying to bring over as many of his players from Jackson State as he can, but he knows that, great players will come to play with him and try to make their mark. What I heard on the radio today was, I don't know, it may have been hyperbole, but what I heard was the wide receiver that threw up almost 200 yards in that spring game the other day.
Yeah.
He hit the transfer portal by 6 p.m.
154, and yeah. And 154, and I'll say this, and it's like a lot of them are like that, but it's like there's going to be some that leave because Deion is tough on them. He's got a whole thing showing that he's tough on them. And it's like parents spend a whole lifetime not being tough on them. Then you get here's the thing. There are certain coaches that just aren't anymore. And they're living off of the talent.
Hardly any of them are really tough anymore. Like, I think, other than the fact that I really despise him, I think Nick Saban, he's found the delicate balance, because and especially now with NIL, he can't tell these kids anything because they're getting directly paid. Obviously, he's got, 90% of the best players in college football, but
they're living with a 70-year-old man. That's their main thing.
Do you want to win a national title?
Yeah.
And they say, yeah. And he says, okay, then play your hardest.
And the thing is, he plays, the biggest thing about it is the fact also, they think, when they say 70-year-old man, they're thinking grandpa. So they think that's his generation. That's what they get. And he's won six national titles. Right. So it's kind of you put up with it. He's not, but he's got that fine line where it's like he's more of a statue anyway.
Yeah, it's a shame. He's so old now, because I really wanted to see him come back to the pros, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Nah, it's like Belichick will be gone soon enough. We're going to see this is the era of young coaches now anyway. I was bringing up on, and I was saying this, I brought this up on, let's see, it was during one of the ones 2 weeks ago. It was during one of my little formats. I was bringing this up is like, we talk about these players. Like, one of the players just retired to become a quarterback coach, in the NFL. I was like, that would not 1 ounce shock me is if this happens to Mitchell Trubisky, because he's been working with Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett and everybody and the coaching staff all gave him the props for the Pickett's deal. And I'm like, that probably is going to happen with him, knowing that he's not going to have many starting positions left. No, Pickett improved, and they gave him
it seems like, kind of a natural path.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I can't make up my mind short-term, long-term, nor, full coaching career of Mike Tomlin. But me personally, if I'm the head coach or the GM or the owner or whoever of an NFL franchise, I don't particularly want Mitch Trubisky mentoring anyone.
Well, it seemed to have helped because even Kenny's been saying it, and it seemed to have helped him for that moment. But the thing is, it wouldn't shock me, but I'm just talking about that this is probably going to be the new type. It doesn't even have to be Trubisky, it can be anyone. I think we're going to be seeing a lot.
Kellen Moore, I mean, he laid the path.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
the OC in Dallas now?
Kellen Moore?
Yeah.
No, he's been gone. He's gone somewhere else now. I think he's in San Diego or in Los Angeles.
Oh, the Chargers.
Yeah. Oh, no. But that's the thing, though. I believe that. But no, these big things the biggest things I'm saying to bring up is this is the era that right. Kellen Moore laid that path. But it's like, I think we're going to see, because of the way that the concussions are getting and the way that the injuries are getting, people don't play through injuries in the same. We're probably going to see a lot of early retirements. I mean, they were talking a couple of years ago about Aaron Donald, about him going after 7 years in a Super Bowl. We're not going to see a lot of 15 years anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Between concussions, when they can essentially force you to retire, or, I mean, the game, you can't say it's gotten more violent because there's protocols for things like that, but the athletes have gotten bigger, stronger, and faster.
Yeah.
But to me, there's absolutely nothing wrong, and honestly, I kind of appreciate it when a guy walks away rather than limps away or rolls away in a wheelchair, like somewhere near their prime, like what Patrick Willis did.
Yep.
Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, Tiki Barber. Not Tiki. Who am I thinking of? Yeah, Tiki Barber, kind of.
Yeah.
Don't embarrass yourself trying to do anything extra, Emmitt Smith.
Well, and it's absolutely right. And I'm like, before I grew up, and there was one player, and it was my favorite player, that just left at the right darn time. Larry Bird. He left while he still had Larry Bird left while he still had a playoff in him.
It's funny because it just mentioned Larry. I was listening to some sports talk radio on the way over here today, and one of the local sports talk guys was just like, he's an NBA fan, as am I, but I'm fed up with this load management nonsense between Kawhi and Paul George, and who is it, De'Aaron Fox? He has like a broken fingertip.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try to play tonight.
Up Larry Bird when his back was so messed up he couldn't play, and he could play, but he couldn't sit down. Like, he had to lay down on the ground. Like Michael would never, Kobe Bryant would never, Allen Iverson. If he had a broken finger, no. The only way Allen Iverson's not playing is if he had to have his hand amputated.
Oh, I know, and even then he'd go one-handed. But that's the thing I was bringing up. Is Bird went at the right time while they still had the playoffs. They still had a Game 7. He showed. The thing is, who knows how long, if he would have won that Game 7, you got to remember, he was a Game 7 master. So he was a Game 7 master. So if they would have won that Game 7 and he had the game of his life again, how do we then know that he doesn't try again? But there's the time. It was the right time to go. You go while, your back was hurt. You had your one game left.
And it's funny, but I mean, ironic. Can't really say fitting, because I mean, as much as I hated him back then, it's kind of sad. And like I said, ironic that his back went, because it's not like he was, a freak athlete. Like he didn't expend much in the way of, because he didn't have a ton of athleticism. He was just smart and really
just ridiculous, just absurd.
Like Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook and John Wall and now John Morant. It was the first game of that Memphis playoff series when Ja was just flying recklessly through the air and then came down on his hand. Yeah. I was like, wow, that looks just like Derrick Rose. And I've been saying it for 2 years. I was like, Ja, listen up. Find yourself an NBA jumper or you're going to be done.
And the biggest thing is, we talk about Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose should have said, say goodbye in Chicago, even in a little. even if a little. And they just kept, it's just like, I don't know if he kept refusing or they kept refusing or any of that. But it's unfair that you can't, even though they're having it right now with New York. You know what I'm saying? But Chicago, I don't know if he made him mad, if they made him mad or whatever, but that deserved for that fan base to say goodbye.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, he was the only one. I mean, and it makes sense because he was the original one, but, you know, he learned what he had to do to stay in the, because he was about out of the league in his, he might have still been late 20s or early 30s. He was broken down and he was like, oh man, I better go find myself, you know, a respectable NBA jumper. And he came back and did it. When he had that 50-point game with Minnesota and he cried, like, I felt that. Like, I got tears in my eyes. And I think he extended his career enough now to where he'll get in. But prior to that, he was looking at being the only MVP ever to not make the Hall of Fame.
I know. And I was going to say this. You've been a Pistons guy all your life. Now you see this. You're seeing what's happening with your team. It's like, we're going to do I'm not going to do the whole format like I did a couple of weeks ago with Cap Heaven or Cap Hell, because I'm not going to go through the numbers. I want to say you wake up tomorrow and you're the new GM of the Pistons. What in the world do you do to get this started? Because this is kind of pathetic right now with the way they're going.
And today, it's worse than it was at the beginning of the season. You know what this is? And I realized it. This is version 2.0 of Andre Drummond, Josh Smith, and Greg Monroe. Because we have 3 big men and
Uh-oh. I wonder what happened here. Hey, Jay.
And then
what happened?
I don't know with Cade. Like, I don't think he's, you know, injury prone or a bust.
No, say that again, because you happened.
Oh, what was the last thing you heard?
I heard that you were talking about the 3, that this is the era, you know, the 3 like Drummond.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's Drummond, Josh Smith, and Greg Monroe all over again. It's 3 big men that either you've drafted too high or, you know, you've given a new contract to or spent enough assets. Like, at least 2 of them need to be on the floor at all times, and none of them can shoot.
Right. I mean, bringing up Josh Smith, boy, that's the truth.
You know what? I love Josh Smith like 3 years before we got him. But the thing is, we got him, and then either we drafted Monroe after that or vice versa, and then we got Drummond.
See, Josh Smith came in, mind you, I've been here since 2005, so I got all of Josh Smith here. You know what I'm saying? The thing about Josh Smith is Josh Smith was in at the bare end of the role player, the Dennis Rodman role player. And with his jumping ability, he could have been Mr. 20-25 rebounds, 4 or 5 blocks, and then add the blocks with it. You didn't even have to have him shoot. You didn't have to. He could have just dunked under the basket, maybe a couple of plays, maybe 6 points a game. It's all you needed. And he came in at the bare, and I'll tell you this: he came at the bare end of this role, you know, of the under the role player, and they didn't do this. And I bring this up myself about role players. It's like the NBA refuses to allow it because, and I might mind you, I am no Ben. I mean, every time, and you've probably heard me, I'm no Ben Simmons fan, but his final game before he got that quote unquote knee injury, you know him and his,
before he had a role.
Yeah. And it's like, you know his thing. But his final game was 7 assists and 6 rebounds in 13 minutes. And it's like, okay, you paid your money. That's your idiot's fault, paying that kind of money to him. But guess what? 7 assists and 6 rebounds in 13 minutes, taking him, give him 16 minutes off the bench and you get that kind of role. You score all day. They got to the playoffs. They have scorers.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a taller Draymond Green and a better ball hand passer.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, and here's the thing, and if he drives in and does a layup once in a while, big deal, 4 points. And it's like, but if you did, but do this in 15, 16 minutes. That's the thing. That's what I think is missing with the game. It's like everybody's got to have star numbers.
You can't do that with Simmons because you're paying him too much.
Understood. That's why I was bringing up. That's what I'm bringing up, though, man. It's you can't do it that way, but that's their stupidity. But if you're going to have a chance, like I said, the Nets got to the playoffs this year. Got swept. They got to the playoffs. They have scorers, so you can do that with him. I mean, would you do that? Would you take him as Detroit?
No. And the thing
say the GM, if I'm to tell you that role.
Much like, there was Russell Westbrook rumors. We need if Ben Simmons was an actual leader, then yes, because what we need is a leader, a veteran that still has some gas in the tank, that plays defense, and that will fist fight every one of those young guys in practice if they don't play defense. We need Jimmy Butler 5 years ago.
Right.
Or Jimmy Butler right now, but this team isn't close enough. You know what I mean? Or Draymond Green before he signed his second contract with Golden State, because he was talking about coming here, but that was after Golden State's first title. And I don't think, maybe some people saw it coming, but I don't think that people saw this coming with Golden State over all these years. Like it's a dynasty of some sort. But it makes sense based on what the new NBA is with the 3-point shot. You have probably the best 3-point shooter of all time, and then another guy that's top 10.
Yeah.
And they play defense. And even Steph, he's not good at defense, but he tries.
Now let me ask this: the basketball we grew up with, more close quarters. You could. And everything. You think of it this way? You remember the Loyola Marymount team that got to the Elite 890? Remember their ball movement, but they shot threes, kind of ahead of their game. Do you think that true ball movement with 3-4 guys holding it with some 3-pointers could survive, or do you think it's the game that we have now?
That style of play, it easily could have, because it was just up and down the court. And would it survive? Yes. Would it be as unique and dominant? Absolutely not, because now basically everyone plays that way.
Well, that's true, but they don't move the ball the same. Got to remember, the 3 or 4 guys touch the ball before they shot threes. Then now it's like one guy up the court.
Right. Well, yeah, because the first guy that's open, there's literally... Other than, I'm trying to think of a couple offhand. The only ones I can think of are Atlanta, us, but we don't count. But I would say probably 25 to 27 of the 32 teams. Wait, how many teams in the NBA? 30 or 32?
Let's see, 32 is NFL, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so 30. 25 of the 30 teams have at least 4 or 4.5 respectable shooters in their starting lineup. So they get the ball down the court as quickly as they can, and as soon as one of them's open, they're shooting the 3. And unfortunately, the Pistons did that worse than most, because we were top 5 in 3-point attempts and bottom 3 in 3-point percentage.
And I brought this up on Facebook once. I was like, knowing the microwave generation that we have, how did Showtime with the, I'm guessing, Dom. Oh, hey, Dom. No. How did Showtime with all the hot potato ball movement going down to the thing, and then, a quick dunk from, say, Worthy? And it's like, oh, thank you, Tyler. And how did that not make it in this world, but the jacking up threes in a really boring game did? And then I got on.
Okay. How did Showtime?
Yeah. Anyway, okay. I said, how did Showtime?
Matter what the question.
How did Showtime get? How did Showtime not survive the whole thing where it's a hot potato league, and then you have 4 guys touch the ball, and then here comes Worthy with a dunk. How did it not survive a microwave world, but dribbling up the court and jacking up the 3? Then it did, and then Ray J said a point. He was saying, well, it's 1 more point. This is just the thing as he was saying, but he said it's 1 more point and it's still scoring, and it's like at the same time he says that's how it got. And I'm like, personally, to me, the thing is you have a higher degree, you have a lower degree of difficulty. You know what I'm saying when it comes to the layup, the dunks, the quick trying to find the open guy over threes, because 3-pointers, even though there's more of them, have not changed. They have not gotten really any better over the years. It's still about 38%.
Right.
So I think you get higher scoring. I'm sorry.
No, I get it from, and it's sad to say. Well, it's not sad to say because I hate it, but sabermetrics, advanced metrics, they've ruined multiple professional sports leagues. And the thing is, I get it. Yes, if you can hit 38% of your 3-pointers, it's better than hitting 48% of your twos. But the thing is, there's no real centers. So if you have a real center, you can just go down there and it's easy buckets. Like,
yeah,
if I'm coming to, like, if I have even a mile, and that's the thing, they're all athletic. It's just they don't have post moves. But I'm driving the lane and yamming on Karl Anthony Towns every time down the court until he even tries to stop me.
Right. And my thing with it is the fact that it's like, I'm thinking as a coach, because I've been a volunteer coach before. I want to coach in my lifetime. I do. Yeah. And the thing I'm always thinking about is, mind you, my team's going to have to shoot threes. It's the world. You can't tell kids not to shoot threes anymore. This is what they've grown up with. So they have to. But I want to have a specific thing where they're all moving the ball, getting that right open shot. And even if it's inside a little bit, but I know they got to shoot threes. But I want to be able to see that ball movement as impeccable as we grew up with. I think it could still happen.
It would be nice. And the thing is, like, I would say you and I, like, from growing up as white kids, like, we understand more than most. Like, You got to have a jump shot, because unless you're, I don't know, Jason Williams or Pistol Pete, can't even say John Stockton, but like, you have to have a jumper and you have to play defense if you're a white guy. No one plays defense whatsoever anymore, but those that do, it's respectable, but it's like, is that guy really?
Austin Reeves tried.
He's just playing more defense than the next guy who's playing none. So it's like he's playing defense. But that's why I love guys like Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler does not have a great jumper.
See, the white guys in the league now, like an Austin Reeves and stuff like that, will get a lot more notice because no one plays defense anymore. So him even trying to, and it's just good. That's going to be this era's Larry Bird. Now, I'm not saying that.
Did you really just compare Austin
Reeves absolutely
to Larry Bird?
Never do that. I'm talking about there's eras what people's thought process is, because they're going to be like, oh my God, he tries so hard. It's like, no, I did not compare it. Hell no, I would not compare him. I'm saying, oh my God, they're like, oh, they tried so hard. Oh my God, because no one plays defense. There's no comparison level. And that's what I meant by that. It's like, this is going to be this eras where they're going to think, oh my God, he hustles. Not like what I grew up with.
Right. And it's funny because now when you look at the scoreboards and the game logs, it's almost bad, because a little bit before my time, you were still a young man too, but in the early mid 80s, you were seeing those games that were, 135 to 128.
And 2 3-pointers a game.
Right. I was going to say, for different reasons, because they had a gang of post players. Now the league has, and it's not that they didn't play defense, but I think the defense kind of tightened up in the mid to late 80s through the mid 90s.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at least for the basketball that I've seen from my youth until now that I can remember, like, guys played defense, but the refs really wouldn't let you play tight defense on Michael Jordan. And that was why I hated MJ back then, because it's just like LeBron now. If you gave him a dirty look or coughed on him, it was a whistle.
Well, yeah. No, see, we had 1984, 186 to 184, Denver and Detroit. You know what I'm saying? 186, 184, there was 2 3-pointer shot in the whole game.
Right.
And it's like, this is the thing I bring up. And mind you, this is the gray hair talking. So I would be bringing it in. I'd be bringing as a coach, I'd be bringing it based off of what I was brought up with. But these are players they're shooting mid-range and they're getting open shots and it's going quick. Don't you think that heavy ball movement with players that are, that have great stamina, don't you think that can beat 3-point? I'm just asking this from your opinion. You think that could beat a 3-point team if the team is off or if they don't have any stamina themselves, you wore them out?
I mean, it could, but the thing is, for the most part, teams don't get worn out. Like, yeah, they might run and gun on offense, but they're not expending any energy on defense.
That's true.
And for like here and there, I see good ball movement on the offensive end, but it's just, one guy drives to the hole with no intention of actually attempting a layup or a dunk, and he's kicking it out to the other 4 guys just standing on the 3-point line.
Sure. Yeah. So they don't expect. You give me that idea. You're right on that, because if I was to be the coach and I get the team to move it enough, they're just going to let my team score at will, because if they're shooting well on 3, that's 3-2, 6-4, 9-6, and then I'm behind right off the spot. So you have to have a good mix.
Yeah.
Yep. So would you want to? I was going to say this. Would you want to be a coach or a GM yourself?
A coach, no. I mean, unless I can step in on day one with the sort of credibility and respect of, Greg Popovich, because as soon as I walk in the door, or really I'm Bobby Knight, and that won't fly anymore.
Right.
But the door and being like, look, I mean, it's like when I used to play soccer. Like, we had to run 3 or 4 miles before they let us touch the ball. If I'm walking in and being a coach, I'm taking our 3 best offensive players and making them play defense only for 60% of practice.
Yeah.
It's like you have to hold your guy that you're guarding to under 50% shooting. You have to block one of his shots and get a steal before I'm even going to let you go down to the other end and do anything on offense, because it's basketball. We know you can shoot.
I love the idea of what you just said. I might steal it even one day, because you might get those numbers in record times if they really want to. You know what I'm saying? If they want to get it bad enough, they might do that in a hurry.
That's the thing, and that's what's so frustrating about the Pistons right now. Like, this is not anywhere. You can't even call this Pistons basketball, because the bad boys and the going to work Pistons, other than Isaiah, and I guess 75% of Rashid, but only after he got a technical. There's no stars on these teams. They won by stopping you from scoring. Like, yeah. we didn't win games by, I mean, here and there. Like, yeah, there was Vinnie Johnson against the Blazers to win that series, and I don't even recall like a clutch shot to win a game with the going to work Pistons. It wasn't about hitting a clutch shot. It was stopping you from hitting any, like, go look at the box score from that 04 finals.
Mm-hmm.
Got to 100, I think, one time. They were under 90 twice, under 70 once, and I think they maybe failed to score 60 in one of those games.
Well, with the
60.
Well, the Lakers started forcing them then. You know what I mean? They started forcing the shots, and they weren't hitting them at all anyway.
They were like, go ahead and do whatever you're going to do, Kobe and Shaq. Get 70 between you. The rest of the team's getting 9.
Yeah, maybe. And no. Now I want to go back to earlier for what I was asking you, since I talked myself, obviously. I was going to say this. What happened with those Pistons teams? What would you what needs to be changed? What happened with, going back to the beginning of what happened, how they started failing, what happened?
Well, Joe Dumars, yes, he was the GM or whatever president. He really only did 2 really good things in that lengthy tenure. He made the trade for Rashid.
Yeah.
Drafted Tayshaun Prince. Outside of that, he made terrible, like Isaiah Thomas bad draft picks.
Right.
And even worse, free agent signings. Like all that money we gave to Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva. And I kind of I didn't understand it at all, other than the fact that, okay, Dumars was like, if we sign Ben Gordon, he won't hang 20 on us in a quarter. But it was just that the teams didn't fit. And then he got, like I said, he got all those bigs that couldn't shoot. And it was similar to what the Red Wings did. It's been some years now, but the Red Wings and the Pistons, essentially, futures got mortgaged to Ben Gordon. Yes, thank you, Jay. The future got mortgaged to extend the playoff streak. We got to all, seven straight or 7 out of 8 Eastern Conference Finals, and we won 1.
Yeah.
Should have won 2. And then that was so bad. Larry Brown left, and we hired Flip Saunders, who coached for 2 years. And then he went to Joe Dumars and was like, look, you trade Rasheed Wallace. He's turning this team into a bunch of Rasheed Wallaces. He's dividing the team. And Joe was like, F you, I'm not trading Rasheed. So Flip was like, I quit. And then there was a bunch of just bum coaches. And then we hired Stan Van Gundy and let him be the GM and the head coach. And the only person I know of this century that was ever able to hold both those jobs was Bill Belichick. But he had blood oath on his side.
Yeah. And that's absolutely true.
Van Gundy made it doubly worse because he made bad picks, or he made some picks that could have been good, but he tried to turn the Pistons into that briefly and mildly successful Orlando Magic team that he coached.
You think? I'm going to ask you. You think that how much of a crapshoot do you think drafting is, just overall, but by itself? Because we're saying all these bad draft picks. That's kind of hindsight. How much of a crapshoot, and how much do you think it? They're just some bad.
It's pretty much anything outside of the lottery. If you get anything from a guy you draft after about pick 10, if he can end up being a 5-year starter or even a 5 to 7 year role player, you did great. But it's just, I don't know. Van Gundy was terrible on both fronts, and that Dumars had already set us back a couple years. Van Gundy made it worse, and then now we get what's the guy from OKC, our GM, Brad Weaver, something. Mm-hmm. Brad Weaver, and then Casey, and it's. Weaver made all those moves, and he ended up with 3 first-round picks. He got Killian Hayes and Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart. And I didn't like the Hayes pick. I kind of liked the other 2, but Killian Hayes being so underwhelming and then hurt for a good portion of his rookie year was what allowed us to get Cade. But now, like, just the pieces don't fit, and I'm tired of ping pong balls. Like, this is the worst 4-year stretch in Pistons history, and Casey was there for the whole thing, and they finally got rid of him, but all they did was, they said, go sit upstairs. Like, oh, no, you're not fired. You get to be in the front office. For what? Why? What did he do that makes you say, let's keep giving him a paycheck? Let's keep listening to him.
Now, I'm going to ask you this. What do you think of the lottery?
What do you mean?
Just your own opinion of it. Because the reason I brought that up is, remember what LeBron James said. He wants to play with his kid 1 year before he retires. So guess what? A lottery becomes 1 out of 10. Chance of the first pick, which means you can't tank. At the same time, you're giving LeBron. It feels like you're giving LeBron the opening to be able to give the greenbacks to the people to give him the first pick of any team he would want in the lottery, where you couldn't quite do that if there was a team that tanked. And guess what? You're going to Orlando, old man.
Well, for one, unless it's just an absolute fix where he pays a team to take his son that high up. Because I don't think Bronny is going to end up being a lottery pick. And if he does, or wherever he's drafted, I hope it's Cleveland. And they're like, no, LeBron. No. Like, that would be the ultimate, like, my fantasy ending to LeBron's career. Like, someone drafts his son and then refuses to acquire him.
Right.
Because, like, who wants that nonsense? I wouldn't.
The biggest thing about him.
2 years ago, he was talking about, LeBron's contemplating a potential return to Cleveland. And then Cleveland came out like, what makes you so sure we want you?
Yeah. And
I wouldn't. Although now they look soft, but I said that all year.
Well, no. The biggest thing about it is the fact I don't think the Lakers are going to go anywhere. They're not going to win it all. So what next? And it's like you're building this team. You know what I'm saying? You're building your own players. You're getting your own draft picks. You are the GM. But it's like what is becoming the end of him is becoming the legacy more than being number 1 all-time scoring and 4 as the number 4 as the assists. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's becoming that's becoming the legacy because you've got here's the deal. Your legacy should be 10 finals, not 4 out of 10. You know what I mean? 10 finals is insane. It means you played all those years at over 100 games, your team did, and then you're at 85 yourself, It means you played that. That should be your legacy to say that you got the 10 finals. It's like people don't remember the loser. They do with LeBron for obvious reasons. But
he's a loser more times than a winner.
Huh?
He's been a loser more times than a winner.
Oh, and make no mistake about it. And here's the thing. I'm not going to be the biggest fan of LeBron ever because, you and I, you're what, 43?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, I'm 45 in August. And the biggest thing is you and I both grew up with real. You'll see people, they use that meme of LeBron with that, that kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? They do that, and it's like, and they think that's badass. And there hasn't been anybody in history with those kind of muscles with less badass in him, ever. And there's a generation that thinks that that's what that means.
Well, the beginning and the end of the argument with LeBron as to why he's not the greatest. Like, yeah, he's got great stats. Great athlete.
Yeah.
As far as I know, pretty good guy. But here's the difference. And it's not even that Michael was, it's tied in with Mike being 6 for 6. How many Hall of Famers did LeBron James stop from getting a ring?
Right, I know.
0.
Yeah.
Michael stopped Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, Charles Barkley, John Stockton,
Yeah.
Karl Malone. I mean, that's most of the dream team. That's the best assembly of, like, that's an all-time team from the last 30 years. LeBron didn't do that. And I don't get it twisted. LeBron didn't create the super team. They actually created the first super team to try to beat him.
Yeah.
But he's just not. He's a more athletic Magic.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm fine with that.
And the thing is, a good guy, like you said, and he's never cheated with it, from what we know, cheated with his wife. He's been a good dad. He's been all those. My issue, I probably would be with people if I was 25 right now with them, as far as his athleticism. You grow up with them. But right. I had the proudness of, even if it was shorter time than that, of having Bird and someone who just gave every drop.
Right.
Drop, which we won't see anymore. And that may be unfair to a lot of the players, because we saw our players. I mean, Isaiah did it too. He gave every drop of himself and it was over.
Never saw LeBron score 19 points in a quarter on a broken ankle. You know what I saw? LeBron getting carried off the court for heat cramps.
Yeah. Not in a quarter, 28.
Since I compared them.
Yeah. Let's compare.
Put rookie LeBron, or any age LeBron, on that Lakers team when Magic was a rookie. Is LeBron stepping in for an injured hook shot and playing center and leading his team to a title? No.
In Philly. And quieting them down in Philadelphia. But that's my thing I'm bringing up, is the fact that we saw those. It's like Bird saw it. You know what I mean? Bird gave every drop. Isaiah gave every drop. It's like we saw our heroes give every drop till they had nothing left.
Right. And the Showtime Lakers and the Bird era Celtics, like, they battled. Those were the teams for close to 10 years.
Yeah.
And the Pistons ended them both.
Yep.
Then Michael ended us. Like, there's nothing like that in this era or at any point in the last 20 years.
No, not
what
in.
I'd like to have seen was,
they're going to call us old, the Grays, all that kind of stuff like that. But the reason they won't, I've maybe hundreds of the kids, people, everything. Go watch all 7 games of the '84 finals are on YouTube, the full games.
What I'd like to have seen,
what
I would have liked to have seen,
yeah,
was Bulls against the Rockets for those 2 years that Michael was gone, because he retired and a degenerate gambler. He didn't retire. The league was like, go away.
Yeah.
No one wants to admit that. I mean, smart fans you can't have the face of your league. I mean, it's not like he's Charles Barkley. Barkley was Barkley, but when you're the face of the league and they tell you go away, and he's like, okay, I'm kind of tired anyways, I'll go away.
Go play baseball, and then, by the way, he came back in the state as a degenerate gambler anyway. It's like, but
it wasn't going to change.
Yeah, it wasn't going to change, but it makes people think. But maybe the gray hair show. Maybe that's the world, but it's not our fault, nor is it the kids' fault what they think and what they've seen. That's what their idea is. But we do know that our players used to get literally slammed. Our heroes got slammed to the ground, and they were like, up.
Even the kids now, even the teenagers that are real fans and they know their history, they all agree like that it's nothing like it was back then, and most of these players could not survive, up to and including LeBron.
Well, LeBron, I always say this about. Go ahead.
Steph Curry.
I tell this about LeBron. I say, LeBron, bring him to the time machine with those muscles and all that stuff. Now he wouldn't last 2 games in that league. Now,
ready Rick Mahorn, and he's getting carried off the court again, but with a broken jaw.
Now put him in starting in 81, where, guess what? You're no longer going to be 265 because there's no training session, nor the diet, nor any of that stuff. You're probably about 225, 230. You still have the athleticism. Maybe you can take the hits, but the LeBron of now
was like, who was muscle bound back then?
Okay, I'll say the 90s, Anthony Mason.
I was literally just about to say Anthony Mason. Swear to God.
But 90s. But in the 80s, not even Moses Malone. He had a bit of a gut. And he was a beast.
I don't remember muscular guys in the 80s.
No.
90s, yes.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Jordan became muscular in the 90s. In the 80s, he was the twig. Yeah. But
he had to bulk up to get past the Pistons. And I respect for that in retrospect.
See, and this is what I love about Punditviews. We're running out of time soon, but this is what I love is a conversation. Bring in the thing. It's like next week I'm going to have a good buddy of mine who's a filmmaker. He's made 4 horror films right now, and he's on his 4th. So he's a good guy. His name's Jacob Phillips. He's going to be my guest next week, and it's like good dude, really good dude. I lived with his family for 3 years. Him and his family for 3 years. So he's going to be pretty good. We're going to talk a lot about film and everything, but I love to have different points of view and everything. And there are people that want to be the GM, and there's people that want to be fans. It's in different mindsets. And I appreciate you coming on tonight, man.
I want to just be a fan because I'm not with the Lions. I don't have to worry about being a GM because I trust our GM. Yeah. It's not that I don't trust the Pistons GM. I just don't understand why he didn't fire the head coach. Dwayne Casey must have mounds of dirt, not only on the owner, but also the GM. Because how are you that bad of a coach for 4 years? And they still, it's like John Elway with the Broncos.
Would you ever want to work in sports yourself besides sideline and with everything like that? Would you want to do that?
I mean, I want to say yes, because I'm sure it would pay good. But to me, a job is not necessary. I mean, I wouldn't take a pay cut from what I make now, but I feel like it would take the fun out of it.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun to have beer with your buds.
Right. I don't want to have to change who I am or censor myself. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could still be just as critical, but I don't know. It's more fun just being a super informed fan that also, covers it here and there. But as far as working for an organization, I mean, I would love to if they let me do what I wanted to do. And if I was succeeding, if they gave me, not free reign, but a fair amount of reign.
And that. Hey, Jay, come on in a second. Let's see if we get Denzel here. I'm guessing he's, yeah. Hey, man, this was a good episode tonight, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
I like that's the thing, Jay. That's the thing I bring. You see me on. Everybody's seen me on social media. How I go after there are certain fans I'll go after because they think they know every detail. They wouldn't last 5 minutes in the war room, that kind of deal. But at the same time, you also got to ask the fans, would you want to? And I mean, Dom's honest. He's honest on the thing. You got to ask him. Some of them just want to be a well-informed fan and live their life. It is fun to have a beer or 5 with the buds.
It's like I said, it's nice. I mean, probably for the first time in my life, through these 2 years and most of an off season, to look at the Lions GM and be like, you know what? I have very few complaints.
Yeah,
that's huge. I mean, it's about time,
to be crazy. Because the NFL draft is like the NBA draft now. With all the movement, trading up, trading down. We may trade up from 6 or down. May trade up or down from 18.
And now, and now I will say, officially with the departure of Aaron Rodgers, the NFC North, and I know you two feel this as a Lions and a Bears fans, is the most wide open division in football is the NFC North.
Well, yeah, because the Vikings are failing. They're failing.
Vegas says it's 2 wins separating top to bottom.
Yeah, and we'll see. My big thing, and I'm just saying, my big thing by itself is the fact that if I have a true belief, if Justin Fields gets himself a coach, he's there for a long time, gets himself somebody that really works. If not, the Bears are starting over again.
Yep.
And that's the unfortunate part because Luke Getsy's not the guy for Justin Fields. That was shown last year. That system looks pathetic. You can't make him do it all, and the defense will be ready for him this year. So I'm hoping, praying, but I haven't been wrong about Fields yet.
I would like to see him rewrite the narrative on Ohio State quarterbacks, even now after I'm not worried about us drafting C.J. Stroud. But I always like like I said, the changing of the narrative or, the comeback story. I would love to see the Lions and the Bears on top of that division for years.
Yeah, I love Fields as a performer. I love him as a competitor. He is like Rocky Balboa. He comes out of every game exhausted. I love that mindset. He's got a very old school, I want to go through a wall and tire myself out mindset. I love it. But they did wrong with him for the get-go, playing him too early. He wasn't ready yet. Fans had to force it. They wanted to get they wanted to get fantasy football numbers. And and what I read, the one thing I read big time is I was reading how teams now are looking for the secondary fans. The secondary mindset of, okay, and I'm like, now I get why Justin Fields gets 5 wins out of 25 and stays. It's because he does bring secondary fans. He does, and it's like, and so the Lions are gonna have to do the same thing somewhere. They're gonna have to, if they don't win, they're gonna have to bring that in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Dude, this was awesome tonight.
Yeah,
and we definitely have to have a part 2 someday.
Absolutely.
And are you gonna come back on? Basket Bros one day?
One day.
Well,
yes.
we look forward to having you, man. We miss you.
Absolutely.
You take care of yourself, buddy.
Yeah, do the same.
And we have a good night. This is Punditviews. This was Punditviews. Next week, Jacob Phillips, the horror film producer, young guy, and you'll enjoy this. Have a wonderful night.